Welcome back.
Oh.
I was just talking about the fact that I went to a farmer's market this weekend. I was telling Nancy, and I should start by saying welcome to Let's Talk Autism with
right.
Shannon and
Yeah,
Nancy.
here we are.
I'm Shannon,
And I'm Nancy.
but I'm in mid-sentence. There we go. There's Nancy.
Here I am.
There you are.
Welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon.
There
and
you
Nancy.
go. So, but I was just telling Nancy that we went to this farmer's market this weekend, and my son is very epicurious. He loves, like, they had a raw oyster bar there,
Right.
and he'd never had a raw
That's
oyster
amazing
before.
to me that he likes food.
Oh,
like
he was like, "Can I try one?" And I was like, "Of course." And he loved it and put the different
that.
things
He
on it.
loved a raw
He,
oyster.
yeah, but he loves smoked oysters. But I didn't think
Yeah.
he. But would Wyatt try a raw oyster?
I don't think so. Not in a million years.
Man, it makes just I love oysters, but the idea of a raw one makes me want to gag.
Well, if I put
He
plenty
lo-
of like the sauce on top of
Right.
it, seafood sauce and all
He
that.
said with the lemon juice, it
Mhm.
was really good, and he put a little bit of the horseradish on it too. But we had a friend there who was selling ancient grain, and they grow whole wheat with totally organic, and it's an ancient strain that and then they grind it and sell it at this farmer's market. So we wanted to go and see
But
them.
it's not gluten
But
free,
that's
obviously.
gluten city. In fact, we were
Right,
joking
of
about
course.
it. Jem walked up to their booth and in a British accent said, "Pardon me, do you have anything gluten free?" Right, because he's trying out his English accent. And my friend said, "We're gluten boy here. You're gonna get away." But then 3 booths down, they had a gluten-free baker with the most incredible stuff. This olive loaf and this rosemary loaf that we lost our minds over, and dairy-free too. And we were standing there, and he was saying, "This is the best place on earth, my child." And he said, "The next thing we're going to find out is they've got cheese that doesn't have dairy in it."
Right,
I went,
and they
"Oh."
did.
And I said, "Oh, baby, don't wish for the moon," right? As I turn around and we're standing in front of a booth that is plant-based cheese. It's aged cashew cheese. They have a smoked one that is to die for.
It sounds good.
Now we can't wait to go back next
You're
week
making me
and get more.
hungry.
No, seriously, I'm telling you, a little bit of that. It's called Okie Smoky, and it's like cream cheese.
Right.
And you spread it on the rosemary loaf, the rosemary focaccia.
Yummy.
Stop, right? It's so good. So we had such a good time. It was an amazing thing.
Good.
Can you tell I'm a foodie? No. What would ever make you think that I'm into food? But very, very cool. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about because we got a
Right.
big
We
show.
have 2 guests. We have Vince Redman with us, marriage, family therapist, as
Yes.
well as ABA.
Yes, amazing resource that he answers your questions. And a little bit later, we have Maxine Rosalia. Am I saying it right?
Yes.
We've had her on before. She is the author of the book Queen for a Day,
Yeah.
which both Nancy and I read this summer and loved.
And loved.
Did we not?
Yeah, we loved it.
And so we're thrilled that we've got her back because there was a lot to talk about her with, and we didn't get to all of it.
Right.
And
She's got some tips and some good things to
Yeah.
talk about based on her experiences with her son.
a way to help other parents. And we also have some in the news, but we've got Vince already on the. I think we should take a break
Okay, let's-
and come back and talk to Vince
Okay, let's
instead of
do that.
taking up his time.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back with Vince Redman, licensed and marriage family therapist extraordinaire. So stick with us. But we have joining us via Skype Vince Redman, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist. But one of the amazing things about Vince, and there is a lot of amazing things about Vince, is that Vince, for a lot of years before he became an LMFT, was a behavioral therapist.
Right.
He was in the trenches doing this kind of work, has worked extensively with all age ranges of kids. I always like to say, Vince, that I think you have a particular affinity with our teenage kids because I think that you're a little bit of a miracle worker with our teens. Because I don't know, I think it's the coach in you, Vince, because
Could be.
Because Vince has worked extensively coaching soccer as well in his
okay.
free time.
Okay.
And so I think that that's part and parcel of that you just get it on a level that a lot of people don't with the teens. But anyway, so we're welcoming Vince back to the show. So thrilled to have you, Vince.
Hello, hello.
Good to have you here.
And you are also, we need to say that your position is that you are the director of Card Family Services too. So you are a touch point for a lot of people to be able to have somebody to talk through issues that really, truly gets it.
Right. Help resolve issues, come up with different solutions, work with staff members to make sure that, everyone's being cared for.
Well, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and we thank you for your service. So, Vince, we're a week out on
From
Halloween.
Halloween, which is one of the most dreaded holidays of any autism mom.
It's rough. It's rough. And there's so many different considerations for everything from the costume, whether the kid will wear it or not, up through,
Sensory overload from the night.
Yes, but I got to be honest that now our kids are in a category where there's a whole new problem where it's other people making comments about older kids trick-or-treating. And I never know what the politically correct thing to do is in those circumstances, but I kind of want to smack people upside the head and go, just because you think that people should stop trick-or-treating at a certain age, it kind of makes me mad.
Yeah.
I get a little uppity about it. What do you feel about that, Vince?
Well, I agree. I mean, there's a saying or a little meme that's out there right now is, instead of saying that, would you rather them out doing other things at night?
Right.
Would you rather them being out, getting involved in, inappropriate behaviors or hanging around crowds that will lead to, to crime or to, something that might harm them? I mean, the fact that they're out enjoying trick or treat, they're enjoying the festivities and they're enjoying the holiday, I think should be celebrated.
I do too, but I don't know how to get that out to the general public. I think we got to write a blog or something, or do a video about it, like now. But it is maddening. So a whole bunch of things that come with Halloween. There are some kids who have specific sensory issues. I remember on Parenthood, one of the first times I saw somebody address this in the public, there was an episode of Parenthood where they went to do Halloween, but their son, who liked to dress up in a costume every single day, was so petrified of fire that he freaked out. And they actually had a scene where the mom and the dad were explaining it to other people, saying, our life isn't like yours.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the first times that I saw something like that depicted on television. It was such a gift to all of us. But for the parents that are out there, they're facing this holiday, and just like Nancy was saying, they're dreading it. What can we give them, Vince, to help them to get through this in a way that doesn't make it should be a holiday, it should be celebrated instead of dreading it?
And we'll talk about the candy issue too.
Oh yeah, well then there's that.
I think the first thing is start planning for it now. I think a lot of the things that have happened and some of the frustrations that have happened with families is, we get caught up in our day-to-day and busy, and before we know it, as you guys were alluding to earlier, Halloween then is upon us, and we haven't properly planned for it as a family. And we want to make sure that we do that as early as possible. Start looking at what are the sensory needs, what are some of the maybe the defensiveness that the child might have, and so that we can come up with alternatives, we can come up with resolutions. Maybe we can even start desensitizing before Halloween gets here, right? We need to prepare for it, like you were saying, differently than other families would, right? A lot of other families, they just buy a costume, and then on Halloween, boom, get dressed, get out, go do what you need to do. And that's not the case for our families. Our families need to prepare for this. We need to look at things that other families don't, like you were saying, like sensory needs, dietary restrictions. Again, what do they feel comfortable dressing up in other clothes or costumes? Like you said, some kids love it. They want to be something else. They dress up in costumes all day long, so this isn't a problem. But some have very restrictive, wardrobes that they wear. How can we adapt that? How can we use that to, maybe be a part of the Halloween festivities? And maybe it's different. Maybe they don't go trick-or-treating. Maybe they go to different events that are in the community, like trunk or treats, where you have churches or different organizations that have very small events that they can partake in, so that they still get to experience some of the festivities, but they might not be overwhelmed with having to go out trick-or-treating with so many other kids.
Right.
Even malls have the trick-or-treating now, as you were saying.
There are a lot of
Vince.
organizations that have parties and special things
Yeah.
going on. What about the candy issue? My son is gluten-free, dairy-free, and of course they get candy from everybody that's loaded with dairy and gluten. How do you deal with that?
I think the one thing is, what is the candies, what is the stuff that we're handing out, right? I think for for the families, they want to be the ones that are showing that, so that, they should be handing out gluten-free candy or casein-free, treats. So that the child sees that this is okay. This is okay to hand out, and this is okay to be able to to get these received. I have one family that has a great suggestion. What they do is they collect candy and then they donate it, and they donate it to, again, a church or a homeless shelter, or to centers like CARD, or to their or the PT, OT, speech, and they donate it, and they have like little bags, and they write on it, right? They make a creative, kind of art project for the kids, and then they deliver it, as like it's a special delivery and things like that, so that they understand that what they're receiving is going to then be donated. But again, there's a lot of preparation that goes into that, so that they don't have the expectation that they're going to be able to ingest or eat the candy, right? This needs to be addressed fairly early on, that this is the candy that they're receiving is for somebody else, not for them. And then the treats that they're handing out that are, appropriate to their diet, they will be able to get and choose some of those to be able to take as their treats.
Right. So you tell your child that they can't have all the treats that are handed out, and they can only have certain ones, and you'll go through the bag with them later to determine which ones they can have.
Possibly, in maybe it's in the division stage, where there's a bucket for CARD, there's a bucket for speech, there's a bucket for your OT, and then there's a bucket for the child, and then together you're dividing what they can and can't have, so that it's distributed, and then they see at the end, this is the one that's for them, and this is the one that goes to their teacher and to their OT and to their speech pathologist and so forth, so that it's a fun activity to be able to do together. But then they also can see what they can have in the end, because again, a lot of times there are a lot of treats that are given that they can't have, because I know there's a lot of health conscious families that are out there now that are giving out a lot, more healthy snacks and things of that nature that they might be able to have. And plus, there are some candy and some treats that wouldn't have the ingredients in there that they're allergic to. So that would be stuff that they would be able to have as well.
Right.
But again, it's not something to do only after the fact, because the child's going to have the anticipation that this is for them. This really needs to be worked on and have a plan and practice prior to Halloween, so that they know what that expectation is going to be.
Well,
Right.
I
If
love
not,
the
they're
idea.
expecting to keep it.
I love that, Vince. I love the idea of starting with your candy, the candy that you're giving out, and having them separate and say, this piece of candy would go to our OT office, and this one, so that they're sorting it, that they're learning, I can't have that one,
Right.
so that they're learning it for themselves. I love that. We always did a thing with Jem when he was little that we told him that we didn't tell him what candy was. He'd never had it because we started so early, but we told him that the stuff that he got that was candy, that we would trade it into the Lego fairy, and that the Lego fairy would come and take it and leave behind a Lego.
Oh, wow.
Now, we know other people that then started doing that with the Barbie fairy, that the Barbie fairy would come and take the candy and leave behind a Barbie. This year, for the first time, I have a son who has found out, he's discerned which candies he can have,
Right.
and likes to eat those candies. So he'll sort for himself, but I have to teach him now, because we never had this issue before, about how much candy is appropriate to have, because
Right.
he would just eat the whole thing.
Right.
which
Ryan
obviously
gives
we
out
have.
the candy that's like milk chocolate to other kids that he sees while he's trick-or-treating.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a fabulous thing.
Yeah.
And I was in Walgreens last night, Vince, and they had signs that they were giving out. There's this blue pumpkin movement that you can put a blue pumpkin out in front of your house to signify that you have treats that aren't candy and allergy. But Walgreens has signs that say allergy friendly, that they're giving away to families if you're going to be doing allergy friendly treats and tricks and treats. Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
And the thing is, it's becoming a lot more mainstream, right?
Yeah.
It's not just the special education or special needs families and children that this affects, right? Nut allergies, egg allergies, milk allergies. I mean, these are becoming more prevalent in society. More kids that have these types of allergies, where you, again, like Walmart and Target and so forth, are addressing these needs by providing candies and treats and different things that would be appropriate for them. Where before, and you ladies remember, right, when gluten and casein-free diets started, it was, homemade stuff was really the only thing that can be done, because it was really hard to find anything that didn't have flour in it.
Oh yeah, we just didn't bother.
Now have whole stores. Ralph's and Vons have whole aisles of gluten-free things. So it's fortunately we're in a time now where this is a lot more accessible to foods and treats that will fit in their diet.
Absolutely. And they are treats. I want to caution all of us. There was an article that we don't have included in the news this week because we've been covering this a lot, but our kids are prone to be heavier. And we have to be careful, because we think, ooh, it's a treat and they don't get it very often. But a lot of times maybe it doesn't even have sugar in it, but it's got tons of calories. And we all have to be mindful of what our kids are eating no matter what. And sometimes it may not have gluten and it may not have dairy, but it might have red dye number, whatever.
A lot of candies with dye.
Oh, yeah. So lots of things to be concerned about. So moderation in all things, a word that I'm not good with.
Right.
I am not good at the moderation thing, clearly. But we need to be aware of that for our kids to make sure that they're eating healthy. But so Vince, what do you say for I think one of the biggest things is the anxiety that comes with Halloween. The anxiety on the parent side about, are we going to be able to do this? Is my kid going to be able to, do whatever it is that you've planned? Because it's just one more time when we tend to be made to feel different.
Right.
Yeah. In a lot of that, again, goes into the early preparation, not only physically by getting things ready, but mentally too, right? The more we practice what we're going to do for Halloween, the less anxiety us as the parents will have, as well as the less anxiety the kids will have too. If they, with our kids, things have to be as predictable as we can make it, so that they know what their costume is going to be. We've tried it on, that they've worn it before. This is not the, Halloween's not the first day that they've ever tried that, because that you could get a very negative reaction with that. That we practice the sorting, that we've, whatever routine and plan that you guys feel is going to be appropriate, that it's planned ahead, that we go ahead and practice that as a family. So not only the anxiety of the child goes down, but then us as the parents have a blueprint of what we're going to do. We have the instructions of how we're going to do it, and that makes it easier for us than trying to think and adjust on the fly. And a lot of that happens on Halloween, when we do wait until Halloween to actually roll out what we want to do, because we never know how it's going to go. We don't know how the kids are going to react, and how they're going to respond to not only the excitement, but also sometimes that sensory overload with having so many, kids out there and different changes in the routine, right? You don't typically see kids walking up and down the streets at 8 o'clock at night. This is going to be new for them. And so when we're able to practice it, and sometimes the kids don't go out, sometimes they stay home and they're the delivery of the treats, right? They put the treats in the bag and they wear their costume at home, because it is too overwhelming to go out for them. And that's okay. We can then come up with a plan and a routine at home so that they can participate that way instead.
Yeah.
But either way, preparation is going to be very helpful for everyone's anxiety.
Yes, and I agree with you too, Vince, that there's a part of it that's letting go of the expectation of what you thought it was going to be,
right?
Which is every day, right?
Yeah.
But I know one mom taught me that you get the costume on them, get a picture quick, right away. And that way, as the evening progresses and they they take off the headpiece, it's like, who cares?
Yeah,
and they take
exactly.
off the gloves, who cares?
Yeah.
Because it's like, what was the expectation? That they were going to be in the costume the whole night? But get the costume on and get the picture.
Right.
Boom.
Because here in Southern California, it tends to be a warm night anyway. And
Yeah.
sometimes they can't wear the whole costume for the whole time.
And if you
Right.
don't get the picture in the first 5 minutes, let me just tell you, you're not going to get
Right.
it. And that's a bummer if you don't get the picture. But if you've gotten the picture, like that's like everything else is gravy.
Right.
Right.
Right. No, exactly right. Exactly right. And I think, and then you can have them get ready for the picture and pose for the picture and be
Yes.
excited for the picture and actually have that as part of the plan so that we get the pictures and then we get ready to go out.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, after that, it's all, it's all fun and festivities. If they take their mask off, that's okay. If they take their, ribbon off, that's okay. If they take their, my daughter, had pigtails for a costume, was not having anything of that,
Yeah.
and kept pulling them out, the minute we stepped out the door. You know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
Let them have fun. At that point, it's all fun. We have the pictures and the memories, and see how cute they are. And then the rest is let's have a good time, and I think you pointed out a really good point, Shannon, is don't have preset expectations of the way it has to be,
Yeah.
right? Have the expectations of we're going to have fun no matter how it's going to be.
I think that's one of the hardest thing about holidays is that we're all chasing the perfect holiday. And, in some cases it's, an actual holiday that we had in our childhood, but in some cases it's just a made up, perfect Hallmark holiday that we think we have coming to us. And I don't know anybody who has that.
Right.
Even
Not
if they
just
have
autism families.
Right. No, even if they have it, it looks like they have
Right,
it. If you
right.
ask them questions, you realize, no, they don't have it either. But it's that thing of letting go and
Yes.
just being in the moment and taking what you can. And I always get myself so revved on Halloween that I want it to be a certain thing. I want it to be a certain thing. And it usually takes me a good 10 minutes in before my husband will say something or I'll say something that I'm like, let it go.
Right,
Let it
right,
go,
right,
let it go, let
right.
it go. Let it just be what it's going to be. It's hard for me, but I get there. One of our viewers said it's teal pumpkin, and it lets the trick-or-treaters know that they have special treats like toys. I did pick up the other day in just our grocery store, they were selling these really cool tubes of bubbles. Which you can give for trick or treat. They were long and skinny in different colors, Halloween colors, and I was like, that's going in my teal pumpkin. So we give away candy that has gluten and dairy in it. We do, but I always try to make sure that we have something different. Do you give away candy, or are you guys out?
We're out trick-or-treating, so we don't give away candy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard because,
Right.
but
Sometimes they give out glow sticks and they give out, little things that they can be that easily bought in bulk and be able to give out, but the kids will love it, right? Anything that glows, the kids really like. Bubbles, again, that's another great one.
yeah,
'Cause
well, but I didn't think about glow sticks before because you can get those and they're pretty inexpensive. And it actually is great because then it helps to keep them lit up so that the cars can see them.
Right,
So
right.
what a wonderful thing. Great idea, Vince. This has been wonderful talking with you. As always, we appreciate you so much. But we don't want to keep you
pleasure.
from what you got to do. Thank you. And we want to remind people, if somebody is a card client and they have a need to talk to you, whether it's that they've got an issue or they just want somebody to talk to, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you, Vince?
They can email me at v.redmond, REDMOND, at centerforautism.com.
Vince,
Okay.
is that how you say your name?
Yeah.
So for like 6 years, we've been saying your name wrong?
Oh, no, everyone. I say Redmond.
Okay.
I mean, you
All
say
right.
Redmond, but when you say Redmond to spell it.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
they can
All right. All
spell
right.
it the right way.
All right. I just didn't want to be saying your name wrong forever and ever and ever. Thank
Okay,
you, Vince.
thank you
We
for
adore
joining
you.
us, Vince. Have a
No
happy
problem, ladies.
Halloween.
Have a great rest of your week.
You too.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
I just love Vince.
Yeah.
Everything is better when Vince is there.
Right.
I have to say, I have spent like a week with Vince working at a conference with my son. He's just the best. He's wonderful. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're coming back with our guest, Maxine Rosalia, and she is.
Are we going to do in the news first, or are we going to wait on
I
that?
think no. I think it's time for and
Time
we'll
for
do
Maxine?
news at the end and talk a little bit
All
of
right, good.
recap on Denim and Diamonds.
Okay.
So stick with us. Back in a few minutes.
And we are back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And as promised, we have a return guest, Maxine Rosalia, who wrote the book Queen for a Day, which Shannon and I just absolutely loved.
Yes.
It was just amazing, Maxine.
I gotta say, it's my favorite book this year that I've read. There are things about it. It's months since I've read it. There are things that I still think about. I laughed, and I can name maybe 7 books and I read a lot. I can name 7 books that I've laughed out loud during, and I laughed out loud during Queen for a Day, but it's also incredibly moving.
It is very emotional, and you've been nominated for a lot of awards now, right?
Well, yeah, but I'm really kind of like, pissed off because okay, I'm putting the poster on my face now.
Okay.
Because I didn't get any mainstream reviews. So I don't feel like I'm getting enough coverage, but I got this great review. I'll send it to you. I'm not going to waste time.
Okay.
But anyway, but yeah, I was nominated for a lot of awards. I'm not even going to pay.
It's a fabulous book. It should get mainstream reviews. And I'll tell you something else. I would encourage you to get the book to some of the people all these women that have production companies now, because there are great female actresses that this would be a tour de force for them if they were to do a film version of your book. And there are people interested in it, but let's talk. I would like to talk to you about that sometime. All right.
But there are people interested, but I want to make sure it's done the right way.
Okay. So today, when there were a lot of reasons why we wanted to have you come back, Maxine. There are so many things that we were excited to talk to you about, and you really are a woman on a mission. You want to help other moms. One of the things that you said to us is that you recently did a show, Who Lives Like This? And that the discussion came up about talking about identity and how women identify themselves as mothers and how special needs mothers identify. And so let's talk a little bit about that. What particularly moved you about this discussion?
Well, it was actually my initiation was something I've been thinking about. What happened was I was with a friend of mine who's a very wonderful person. I adore her, and she was very successful at this, major. And then she had a very severely disabled daughter. And I was talking to her about identity, and I said to her just casually, I don't really think of myself as a special needs mother. I just don't think of myself that way. And she said, oh, that's the only way she thinks of herself. And then that moment during that time with her, I felt that my identity had been subsumed into this identity as a special needs mother, and I really hated it. I don't think it serves any purpose. I think it's very counterproductive, and I don't think it serves any purpose for your child as a quote, stupid term, right? Special needs child. I think it's just to do the work and get on with your other identity, whatever you can. So that's what I was. So I initiated the discussion, and in fact, it was interesting because I had an interview with Leonard Lopez. He's on BAI now. Him. He hasn't watched the kid, but anyway, he's very well known. And I was talking about that with him, and I just said that I just don't like it. So what do you think about it? How do you feel about it?
It's interesting. I do a show now called the Autism Monologues, and there's a part in it where
Talk about what?
There's a show a one-woman show that I do called the Autism Monologues, and there's a character in it that she brings up the discussion of why do autism moms call themselves autism moms? There's no other group on the face of the earth, like you don't hear people say, I'm a diabetic mom,
right,
or I'm an alopecia mom, or like nobody else identifies themselves by the diagnosis of another person. And this character that I wrote says this, but I think about it all the time, and I have infinitely more trouble identifying myself as an autism mom. And I do it only because it's quick. I wish there was a way that I could explain to people in terms that isn't about him what it is that I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Because when I'm saying to somebody I'm an autism mom, I'm trying to say to them, I'm a part of this community and I get it. But I wish there was another way of saying it because I don't like the words, but I can't come up with anything
you know what?
short.
I've never once said that. And
Really?
I think I've never once, and I think it's very counterproductive. And it's interesting that you're thinking along those lines the same way that I am. I just don't think it serves a purpose. You can just say you have a kid who, on the spectrum.
Right,
Leave it
right.
at that.
Yeah.
So don't make it your whole identity.
It takes up every minute of your day and who you're worried about all the time, and you don't stop working.
Right.
Yeah, I love that Nora Ephron always used to say that there should be 5 words that you use to describe yourself, and that they'll change throughout your life.
Yeah.
And
Really? What did
yeah, Nora Ephron was really big on that. So maybe you're a friend and you're a wife and you're a writer and you're all of these things, but over the years your role will change, and those 5 words that you use to describe yourself will change because at a certain point you're a daughter, and then not that you're not a daughter anymore, but when your parents die, that isn't going to be one of the 5 big things anymore. And it has been an interesting thing for me lately that I am questioning that where in the realm of, I do think of myself now as just being a mom. And when did that happen? I'm excited that it happened, but when did it happen? And I do think it's important that we all get to that. But when you have other considerations, it's hard to deny that too.
Yes,
it's a part of your life.
It's a part of your whole, it does become a part of your whole identity.
When you're a caregiver, but is it that we should be calling ourselves caregivers then? Or it is an interesting question, Maxine. I don't
think it serves any purpose. I think it just is about the work. That's all it's about. And you're doing the work, and it's just something you do. I don't think I think it's counterproductive because I did feel that just based on my one experience as having felt my identity being lost in that. It was a very disheartening thing. I didn't like it.
So now that you're looking at it differently, Maxine, do you feel yourself being more yourself and more of your own identity, having let go of that?
I've never had it. I never once in my life, except for that one moment with my friend Anne, that I felt like an autism mother. I've never felt it. In fact, I was saying to my daughter, Sammy, I don't feel like a mother. And she says, I said to her, can't even believe I'm a mother. And she said, neither can I. Which, that speaks volumes about what a great mother I am.
Oh, no, that's amazing.
Now, Maxine, one of the things you said that you would like to help others learn from your mistakes. So you would like to tell them, other mothers out there, to take care of themselves and to choose their battles. Can you elaborate on that?
I think that's really important. When Benji was first diagnosed, I spoke to some people, and they said, take care of yourself. And of course, the whole notion of taking care of myself is so absurd and so beside the point. And I didn't take care of myself. And for years, I just threw myself headfirst into this never-ending battle. And it costs a lot. I mean, it doesn't help you be a better mother. It takes years off your life, really. I don't know if specifically mothers of children with autism, actually, or special needs, quote unquote, don't live as long as regular people.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's statistic actually. And so I think it's very important that you take care of yourself. And I think and to sort of give yourself time. I'm not saying that I do this myself, but I'm saying that it's a really good piece of advice.
Yeah, and you advise for us to know our limits. Man, I'm not good at that.
Yeah, because basically the way I work and the way I always did with Benji was I would be working from the moment I woke up until I went to sleep, but not even until I went to sleep, until I just could not physiologically endure it anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do. I think we both were nodding our heads because been there, done that. Where my husband would say to me, you got to pull the plug on this.
Right.
When is enough is enough. And I still struggle with knowing when enough is enough.
I know. I don't know. I have no idea, but I think it's very good advice, don't you?
I do. I just want to
know.
figure out how we all get there.
Well, another way of doing it, I'm sorry for interrupting,
No, go ahead.
but another way of doing it, I think that's very helpful, is to find other mothers. I think it's very important to be part of a community of one other person, however many mothers you can find, because I think knowing that you're not alone in this can help support that.
Well, and you say for younger mothers that you want to encourage them to trust the system. I got to tell
To
you,
not trust the system.
No, to not trust.
oh, okay, I read it wrong because
you
I was like,
kidding?
I was going to say because in the book you're
Are you kidding?
okay. No, that makes total more
Right.
sense. I read that and I was like, how can she be advising that? Not trust the system. I love
No.
that advice.
Yeah, no, you can't trust the system. You can never trust anyone to tell you the truth, or don't assume. You know what happens also is, like, you go into this and you with an open heart, because your heart is, and you're going into it and you're with your hands out and your heart open, and then it's like having salt, to switch metaphors here. It's like having salt rubbed into a wound, because these people don't care. There's almost like a corporate culture of not caring and of arrogance. And the people who do care, I don't know what it's like in California, and there are some districts that actually do take care of children, but they're very few. So I would say that be prepared not to be helped and to have to fight for help.
Yeah, I know. I certainly experienced, and when I read your book, I was like, oh, because there are parts of your book where you're talking about fighting with the school district that it was so healing to me to hear it put from another mother's point of view, so that I felt like I wasn't crazy. But I always felt like I was standing in front of a group of people who were trying to automate something, that they were trying to get it to the point where they could make it one size fits all.
Yeah.
And that I kept saying, but that's crazy. It's an individualized education program. But I constantly felt like they were like, no, we made a program and your kid has to fit in the
into it.
program.
Yeah.
And it's like talking to crazy people, because you're
Right.
like, no, it's not the task here. The task is to create something that fits this child, not a program. But that they were constantly shoving us into this mold or that mold. And if you don't fit the mold, and I don't know any kid that fits the mold,
Right.
then where do you go? So I appreciated your book so much, because I thought you articulated exactly what it feels like when you're going up against this system.
Well, yeah, and it's very, very ugly. I mean, it's ugly beyond words when you think about what happens, because here you are, a heartbroken mother, and it's your child, and they're doing this to your child. So the combination is just unbearable. That said, I feel that each person has to know what they can do.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone can go and fight the system, and you have to sort of know your limits in terms of your personal limits, and also your limits in terms of what you're capable of doing.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing with Benji now, which is self-direction.
Well, yeah, man. If I didn't have Benji was graduating from high school. I was terrified. I was crying. I just didn't know what I was going to do. I looked into some programs, but no way I was going to put in a program. And he wanted to go to college. How could he go to college? He was, he was in a class with 6 kids and 2 teachers, and he'd always had a shadow, a para, call them. And then I initially went to, I wasn't told that to do self-direction, so I went through this agency, and they paid, like, I hired myself, but they paid like $11 an hour, $10 an hour. And then I found out about self-direction, and self-direction lets you hire, train your own staff, decide what your child can do, wants to do, is capable of doing, and then putting together a program and using your budget to allocate funds. Since you're managing the program, since you are the quote unquote administrator of the program, you're offsetting a lot of a lot of administrative costs. You're able to pay people who work with your child much more money. And it's a dream. Eventually, would not be able to go to college if it weren't for the program. I have a friend whose kid is, oh yeah, my friend Wendy Kaplan, who you must talk to. She has an autistic daughter, and she created a farm for her daughter.
Wonderful thing.
And she couldn't have done this if she hadn't self-protection. I mean, she had to, she had to have money for the farm, but other people can be part of that farm
Right.
through self-protection. So there are any number of things you can find what a child is interested in and do it, and
Absolutely.
not dump for her into some day have program.
Exactly. And self-determination, it really is the cutting edge. Unfortunately, we are like so out
We're
of
out of
time.
time.
I didn't even realize
Once
how late
again,
it is.
we
But,
start talking to you and we can't stop.
I know, because you're so
Well,
fascinating.
yeah, I had requested an hour actually, but I guess it didn't go through.
Well, and in any case, I want to remind people that in New York State, there is this self-direction.
Self-direction.
In
We don't have it in
California, they call it
California
self-determination. We do have it starting on January 1st for a select group of people. But if you want more information, Google it in those two states because,
Okay.
it's a thing that's happening. It is amazing. Maxine, we love you. We love your book, Queen
I
for a
love you
Day.
too.
And
Everybody should
tell
read
us, everybody
I
should
really
read it.
do.
Tell us where we can get the book.
Okay, well, where's the picture of it? Well, it's all over on Amazon.com, I guess. You can do it there, Barnes and Noble, any bookstore. I mean, just Amazon definitely has it.
Okay.
And you can also go directly to Houghton Mifflin.
And my
Okay.
favorite
it's
book
not
that I've
Houghton
read
Mifflin.
this
What's the
year.
Yeah.
That's not my publisher. Oh my God.
It's
Anyway,
in
Delphinium
any case,
Books.
things in the future. But my favorite book that I read this year, Nancy just
Mine
said
too.
hers as well. So get that book. Maxine, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
being
for
with
joining
us.
us again.
We're totally out of time, and we didn't even get to talk about Denim and Diamonds. But
No.
next week is our Halloween show. We will definitely show some pictures from Denim and Diamonds.
Okay.
But Nancy, it was a beautiful event.
Good.
You did an amazing job.
I'm glad that you
If
were
you
there.
didn't get to see some of the footage, there was a West Wing reunion on the red carpet.
Yeah,
it was
great.
amazing.
It was great. You
It
got
was-
some great interviews.
It was like, bucket list stuff.
Yeah.
It was truly, truly amazing. We're totally out of time. I apologize
for
for
the
running
news.
short. No time for news. But please, we'll be back tomorrow with great guests. Give your kiddos a hug from me.
And yourselves a hug from me.
Bye-bye for
All
now.
right, bye-bye for now.